to enjoy this.
Ladies, gentlemen, and warriors of all ages, Wolong Fallen Dynasty is being enjoyed by thousands upon thousands of you currently, and we hear you. You want to know what you should be aiming for. Obviously, there is the story, but it's sort of boring to go through a game and do nothing but the story itself, never hunt for interesting objects or interact with side mechanics, and this game has a ton of side mechanics if you actually want to put a little bit more time into them. One of the major ones then is the follower mechanic, where you have NPC champions accompany you on your missions. As you fight alongside them, they will grow closer and closer to you, or, you can just give them a cup, because why not? In the game, there is an item called the Cup of Cordiality, and if you give it to a follower, it will raise their oath level with you pretty significantly, taking only 6 or 7 of them to max out a follower on average. When you hit oath level 10 with a follower, they will give you a copy of all of their gear, their outfit, their accessories, and of course, their weapons. The outfits are cool, and a lot of them have interesting set bonuses, and we went over the more notable ones in a recent video about armor sets you need to get within this game. But what about the weapons themselves? In a world where skills are interchangeable, visuals are able to be changed as well, and all of that goodness, what truly makes a weapon good? Well, there are 2 main things. The moveset that the weapon type has, as there are around 12 different weapon types in the game, each with a unique moveset and unique feeling to their playstyle as a whole, but beyond that, when you get a special weapon, it will have a unique martial art. One martial art that cannot be found on any other weapon in the entire game. This is the case for every single melee weapon that you can get from your followers. And so today we'll be going over the 5 follower weapons that you need to get in Wolong, the best ones, based both on the moveset of the base weapon type itself, but more favoring the actual unique martial art that the weapon gets, as that is what truly makes some of these special and unlike any other weapon in the game. Before we get into the list proper though, I mentioned the Cup of Cordiality at the start, and there is a neat little farming route that you can do on the Demon Fort of the Yellow Heaven mission in part 2. Simply go to the mission, run through the cave at the start, following this path past all the enemies, into the area with the demon bird outside, ignore the bird itself to open up the gate, then run through all the enemies on the front line and veer left until you reach this ladder. Once you get up the ladder, go forwards and drop into the hole in front of you to find a chest over here. This chest always has 1 Cup of Cordiality in it. Right beside the chest is a battle flag. From that battle flag, you can travel back to the same mission, restart it fresh, keeping your goods. This way you can farm Cups of Cordiality extremely rapidly, one every couple of minutes or so, and this makes acquiring follower equipment super easy compared to what it would be otherwise. With that said then, let's dive into the weapons themselves. Number 1, Invictus Serpent Spear. This gnarly looking slashing spear is pretty cool. Slashing spears have a fun moveset with a bit of variety between sweeping attacks and thrusting attacks with pretty good reach, but the thing that makes this special, as with pretty much everything today, is its unique martial art, which is called Python Turnover. The only negative of this thing is that it costs an absolute ton of spirit, but it's sort of worth it. When you press the input, you'll do a big AoE stomp on the ground and then start charging forward doing a handful of attacks. This does pretty decent damage, and every individual hit of the animation has some stun in it as well, so against human enemies you'll get some pretty good stun lock going with it too. It's really solid. If you like the weapon and you like the feel of its moveset as well, it's definitely worth using. Though I do think as far as the purpose that this martial art serves, there are a couple on this list that do similar things, but a little bit better and a little bit cheaper on the spirit cost. As far as actually getting this one for yourself then, this comes with Oath level 10 with Song Fei. Number 2, Unparalleled Spear. This is a regular spear weapon type, and so the general moveset is much more thrusty than anything else, which is one that I'm actually a really big fan of myself. Longer reaching attacks with forward momentum tend to be quite good, and the moveset is fast enough that it keeps your enemies nice and locked up in general combat as well. Then we come to the martial art, of course, with this one being called Whistling Vortex, and it's actually incredibly strong. What this does is charge you forwards with a spear thrust while spinning the entire way, and as a result you do damage for the entire animation. The particularly strong part of this though is the way that it pairs with element. If you put element on the weapon before you do the spin, you'll actually get loads and loads of damage off of it, as the element will apply with every individual tick of weapon damage. So even if the damage of the weapon itself is just rapid tiny hits, the element itself will hit super hard regardless over the course of the combo. On top of this, it has quite a bit of stun value too, again locking up any human enemies pretty much on repeat, and so it's pretty hard to actually stop this thing in most combat situations. To actually get this one for yourself, you want to reach Oath level 10 with Jiao Yun. Number 3, Jade-green Staff. Full disclosure here, this is on the list more than anything because it's a staff. As far as weapon types go, staffs are pretty much the strongest one conceptually in the game. Their base moveset is incredible. Tons of incredibly quick, high damaging hits with good stun value and forward momentum makes it incredibly hard for an enemy to stop you just on your base weapon type alone. The weakest part is arguably the sprint attack, but even that isn't a bad sprint attack, it's just not as good as every other attack the weapon could do. Past that though, the specific staff has a unique martial art called fanning peacock. This spins the staff around in circles in your hands, doing damage to anything particularly nearby, and doing a little bit of stun as well. But it also fires out fireballs as projectiles on every single spin. You can hold the button down to continue the animation for as long as you have spirit, and this lets you just send out an absolute butt ton of fireballs in front of you, making this partially a ranged weapon, honestly. This thing is exceptionally strong against anything that's weak to fire damage, and against everything else, it's still pretty damn good. And that's on top of being a staff to begin with, which already gives this blunt weapon quite the edge.
Ironic.
To get this one for yourself, simply reach Oath level 10 with Hongjing. Number 4, Tiger Fang Dual Halberds. This one is another one of my favorite weapon types in the game, the sort of dual axes type. These things attack blindingly quick, with pretty good forward momentum too, and solid stun value as well, making it relatively easy to stun lock smaller enemies, even with the basic moveset of the weapon. But then these specific ones of course have a special martial art that makes them even sillier, matching that same concept from before even better. This is called Thorn Cleave, and what this does is simply spin the weapons around like a couple of Simpsons having a fight, just waving their arms around, and you swing them, just spinning them back to back as long as you hold the input down or until you run out of spirit. This attack can last a ridiculously long time, and while the individual numbers of the axe hits themselves aren't overly high, again like the charging spear attack, if you put element on this thing it gets absolutely silly, applying dozens of elemental ticks over the course of the combo, providing an incredible amount of stun value as well, and just making your enemies look absolutely ridiculous while you're doing it. To get this one for yourself, you need to reach Oath level 10 with Sun Se. Number 5. Guding Blade. This is a curved saber which has a fun moveset, not overly long reach, not overly fast on the attacks, not overly high power on each swing, but a really good all-rounder. It's pretty good in all of those categories. The thing is, while I wouldn't label this weapon type as one of the strongest weapon types in the game, the martial art on this specific one arguably makes this weapon in contention for that spot. One of the best weapons just as a whole. This martial art is called Thunderous Impact, and it is a special charging attack. While charging, you deal tons of damage and multiple ticks to anything you come in contact with, as well as full-on pushing human enemies along with you in your charge so they end at your endpoint. Then at your ending location, you let out a really powerful slash. If you do this on repeat, you can full-on properly stun lock human enemies, and they can't really stop you, and this is pretty much the most spirit damage that I have seen anything do in the entire game, making it really good at creating final blow opportunities, which synergizes incredibly with a lot of armor skills and set bonuses on top of being as strong as it is, even on its own. The ability to fully stunlock a human boss cannot be understated, and this weapon does it arguably better than any other one does. Definitely the best of the follower weapons at the very least. As far as getting this weapon, it is a reward for hitting Oath level 10 with Sun Jian. And that's about it, everyone. 5 exceptionally strong follower weapons, which followers give these weapons to you, as well as the quick tip of how to quickly farm the Cups of Cordiality so you can basically just unlock this equipment the second you meet the follower in question. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helps you find your new favorite method of killing enemies in Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.